So I admittedly went back and forth quite a bit about whether I was going to make this video or not. Not because it didn't need to be made, because I think it's a topic worth discussing, but rather I felt like I was being a little bit more negative than I usually am, and that never feels good. So I wanted to give it some time. That said, I gave it some time and I really don't feel differently. So we're going to talk about Guardian ranks, and by default we have to talk about the commendation system as well, but the focus of the video is not on commendations. The focus is on Guardian ranks as a whole. And so let's go ahead and get into it. Guardian ranks. This is a new addition that came with the Lightfall DLC, where Guardians can have a rank numbered 1 through 11 assigned to their gamer tag that other people can see, and from a distance assess what type of Guardian they are. Or at least that's been Bungie's hope, that this ranking system will allow other Guardians to look at that Guardian with that rank and be able to say, this is an accomplished Guardian, they have XYZ to offer, and it should give them a sense of how they can engage with said Guardian. This being the exchange from the previous system where we would just have people's season pass rank, how many levels they had in their season pass assigned to their Guardian tag. So let's talk a little bit about how we got here. In the lead up to Lightfall, we had many different blogs, articles, Wednesday twabs, Thursday twabs, all different types of mediums where we got a lot of different insight about what we could expect to some degree around the campaign narrative, around what we could expect around Strand, and a number of other different things, especially around armors, weapon tuning, and other things of that nature. What we didn't quite hear as much about was this new system, the Guardian rank systems. Bungie mentioned it in a couple tweets. It was in a trailer, that the trailer was actually about another thing. I think it was Strand. They said some things about it, but ultimately they didn't really talk about what Guardian ranks were. So all we really knew were that there were going to be these ranks. We wouldn't see the season pass number next to our names anymore, and there'd be some level of requirements to go from one level to the next. The only other special bit of information that we got from Bungie was that, in so many words, if you had grinded the game and had been active to a certain extent, when you logged into Lightfall for the first time, you would automatically be at rank 6, which is about halfway through the system, rank 6 being named the veteran rank. So Bungie kind of talked about it, kind of didn't talk about it. We launched, and now here we are. Now, getting to what the experience has been thus far with Guardian ranks, I think it's safe to say that the majority of people actually engaging with the system have found it to be highly lackluster. As promised, folks who had grinded the game and had been active in the game logged in during Lightfall for the first time and had Guardian rank 6. A lot of people didn't pay much attention to it, as makes sense, because folks were more invested in grinding out the legendary campaign, getting ready for the new Lightfall raid, all those different things. So again, it makes sense that it wasn't at the top of folks' mind, but because it actually is a part of the grind overall, people did have to engage with it to some extent. Now, the requirements for the Guardian rank system, for the most part, admittedly are straightforward. So for folks who are like, well, Bungie didn't need to say a lot about Guardian ranks because it's common sense, you're about 60% correct. Is it common sense? Yes, but the requirements to get to those pieces don't really line up with what we're getting out of the system. For example, one of the key ways to go from rank 6 to rank 7 was to get a commendation score of 750. This has since been changed, we'll talk about that in a second, but for the beginning of the season, that was a hefty hurdle to tackle. Two reasons why it was so difficult to get a score of 750 legitimately was one, because the user experience was poorly designed. There was so little time in the post-event scene that you didn't even have time to look at your score, how much damage you did, or anything inside of the actual event or game that you were doing, let alone actually have time to sit there and give out commendations to your fellow Guardian. All match-made activities felt pretty bad, but it seemed like Crucible felt the worst, where it only seemed like a matter of 5 to 6 seconds after the game ended to be able to actually commendate the other Guardians, which clearly was never enough time. The second issue being Bungie's lack of planning around social behavior with the system. In my experience, as well as the experiences of a lot of other Guardians that I read online, one of three things ended up happening. Either one, everyone would be on the ending screen and not give commendations at all, and you would walk away with no one getting commendations. Two, Only people who knew each other, who were friends in the same clan, would give each other commendations and not give commendations to anyone else. Or 3, which happened most often for me, was that no one would commendate until someone else commendated, often ending in a mad dash in the last 3 to 4 seconds of a match ending screen for folks to just give out any random commendation that they would to just about anybody on the fire team. So the commendation system being tied to Guardian ranks proved to be, and continues to prove to be, a big obstacle in actually achieving Guardian ranks, because the system and the way that it's unraveled thus far has not set up people to actually be intentional behind the commendations that they're giving. It is just a pure game of rolling the dice and seeing what happens. Maybe you get a commendation, maybe you don't, but ultimately a lot of people, including myself, were stuck from moving up ranks, not because we couldn't complete the other activities in the Guardian rank system, but simply because we weren't getting commendations. Now, true to Destiny style, there was a workaround that was found. I will not discuss the workaround. It's pretty easy to find if you want to. I'm sure Bungie will patch it eventually. But the fact is, people found a cheese for it. And while most people were struggling to get to 100, 200, even 300 during the first week in terms of their commendation score, you had other Guardians walking around with 3,000 plus in terms of the Guardian score. Which, when you think about how long and how many activities it would take to get to a 3,000 level commendation score, again, the commendation score needed was 750 and able to rank up to rank 7, it just would have taken a lot longer than in the time span that other Guardians were able to pull off such ridiculously high numbers. As I hinted at before, and as I also talked about in a previous video, Bungie saw all this ruckus going on and actually has lowered the amount since then, but just knowing that week 1 experience of grinding out so many activities really to get ready for the raid, but ultimately this thing, the commendation system, was holding me and so many other Guardians back from ranking up. It began to disincentivize me even wanting to engage in the system, where it was not about my merit or what I brought to the game, but about other people's choice to be in social camaraderie. Outside of the whole debacle with commendations, the other glaring issue with the Guardian rank system is the fact that at its base, Guardian ranks is nothing innovative. It is nothing outside of the usual day-to-day, week-to-week grinding that people would do in game. If you're active in game, you're already doing things like Legend Lost Sector, you're doing things like Dungeon, you're doing things like raids. If you're active in the game, you already know about bounties. You've probably played 1 or 2 games of Trials. You've probably done all those things. And in Bungie's eyes, I can see how easily it makes sense to make those triumphs for Guardian ranks things that people are already grinding in game. But without any extra incentive outside of a cool animation, most of that is things that could have just been bounties or things that could have gotten just extra XP as a part of ongoing in-game activities, rather than making it this grindy, on type of more grind situation where I'm grinding out a Master Lost Sector, and that's cool. I was going to do a Master Lost Sector anyways because that's the side of the game I play. I play for in-game PvE, but if that's not someone's thing, if that's not what they wanted to do, there's no flexibility, there's no innovation to provide multiple options for people to actually show off their swagger, show off their skill inside of the game, which is connected to another pain point that I know many of my PvP colleagues have already started to voice, is the fact that there are little to no actual things a part of the Guardian rank system that require you to engage with the PvP side of the game. Do you have to visit shacks? Yes. Do you have to play like 1 game of Trials or something to that effect? Yes. But there's no actual deep commitment. There's no actual elevation that will make people want to be interested in PvP by exposing them to more PvP. Most of this, outside of ranks 1 through 6, which are just very elementary Destiny 2 101 things, which are still, weirdly enough, confusing for some of the new lights I've engaged with. They still don't understand the Guardian rank system. And so the lack of actually pulling in the pieces necessary to engage everybody in the community, whether they're a PvPer, whether they're a PvEer, whether they're a new light, whether they're a veteran player, the fact that all it is a repackaged grind of the grind that we were already doing. Sure, is the number next to our names cute, and are the names for the different ranks cute? Yeah, sure, I guess. Not to mention, one of the most egregious parts of the whole Guardian rank system is that at the end of each season, our Guardian rank gets reset, and then we have to regrind those same things the next season. I have to do a soul devouring, soul dismantling, soul destructing grind for the same things that I just did, with no added benefit, no added flex, no added nothing. So what's the point? And that is the question that myself and so many others in the community are asking ourselves, is that sure, it might be cool to grind out Guardian ranks once, to just have it under your belt to say that, hey, I got to rank 10, I got to rank 11, cool. But the lack of incentive to actually get into these grinds and actually invest in the game in this way, I think is going to continue to have diminishing returns, especially after we get to next season when we get our first reset of our Guardian ranks. I can already feel the exhaustion of the game setting in my bones, thinking about the fact that I have to regrind out solo master content. I have to regrind out all the dungeons and raids and everything else I've already done. Was I going to do some of that stuff as a part of my normal season to season grind? Sure, but when there's no added benefit to me actually doing those things, why am I putting the effort to do some of these Triumph solo flawless? Why am I putting in the effort to run a master raid? Why am I putting in the effort into these things when ultimately nobody in the community cares? There's actually no value to it. There's nothing about these Guardian ranks currently that makes people in the community really want to go and say, you know what, I see that you're rank 9, that actually means something. Let me reach out to you for help. Let me see if I can connect with you. Can you help me with a campaign mission? So on and so forth. Especially with the Fireteam Finder, the LFG system that Bungie was building, being delayed until later in the Lightfall expansion, really proves that there's not even a place to actively say or utilize my rank that I'm gaining and spending so much time to get to. There's really no use outside of people just seeing that, oh, this person has an 8 by their name instead of a 6, because nothing is actually tied to the matchmaking or any of the current system where that actually might matter. So I think at this point, it's really easy to see how the game and how it's presented Guardian ranks really did not mesh up with the actual Destiny 2 community. I think in theory, it was a great idea, but when we actually look at what's best for other MMORPG games, and then what's best for the Destiny community and all of its complex, mushy-gushy uniqueness, the fact was, I think the intention is getting outshined by the impact of how Destiny 2 players and all the cultural aspects of what we do in this community have to offer when it comes to a system like Guardian ranks and commendations, where there really have to be strong incentives for people to engage with the system, one, but two, to engage with the system honestly and in a way that actually is healthy for the community. Because right now, Guardian ranks are just another fancy way of grinding out things in game with no added benefit. And for folks who are familiar with the channel, you know I don't always like to leave it off on a sour note. So I actually do have a couple suggestions in mind in which I think would be helpful for Bungie in terms of next steps to really make sure that the system is giving players in game the opportunity to show off their skill set, connect with others, and actually bring life into the game. So my top 3 suggestions would be: 1, completely, utterly, unequivocally, to the ends of the earth and the universe, take out commendations from the Guardian rank system. These two systems desperately need to be unlinked and need to be separate because of the way that the Destiny 2 community operates. Giving out a Guardian a commendation that says Joybringer is cute, I'm not gonna lie, but what does Joybringer actually mean? What in the Destiny 2 community does that actually have to offer to have that 30% of your commendations are for being a Joybringer? Are you truly a Joybringer? Did you just do a lot of emotes? Like, what do these tags actually mean? So for me, removing commendations completely from the Guardian rank system not only helps alleviate some of the burden of the grind associated with the Guardian ranks, but also gives Bungie the opportunity to separate out that system, fine-tune it, and actually resend it out to the community. My second suggestion would be to put more aspects of the game beyond PvE into the Guardian Ranks grind. I will say that it will be a much welcomed improvement if more PvP aspects were added into the Guardian Ranks system. This would not only bring in more people to the PvP side, but also for my PvP players out there who have been hurting because they've just been neglected on so many different decisions in the past 1 to 2 years of Destiny development, giving that part of the community something clear and defined to grind to as well, and also giving them the opportunity to build community with other people, not only allows all of the community members to get a sense of all sides of the game, but it also brings in more folks to those core aspects of the game like PvP quick play, Iron Banner, and Trials, which again are core pieces of the game, even if I don't always play them. And last but not least, absolutely under no circumstances make us regrind Guardian Ranks each season. It's just not strong enough for people to actually want to come back and regrind all of those different aspects, but rather I would advocate that you expand the Guardian Ranks from 11 to 15, so adding in 4 more ranks, and then once you've reached rank 15 in any given expansion, you are at that level for the remainder of the expansion. So you do elongate the time that it takes to be able to accomplish getting to rank 15, and there will be a grind aspect to it, and the grind is accompanied by loot and other different incentives, but you only have to regrind it when you have to regrind your power level, which is in each new expansion. I have the utmost confidence that if Bungie continues to pursue the pathway of making us regrind Guardian Ranks, that they will see people grind Guardian Ranks this season, this first season, Season of Defiance in Lightfall, but there will be a drop off of epic proportions the following season because it will be so tiresome and so exhausting to regrind Master Lost Sectors, regrind Exotic Quests, regrind all the different things with no actual real purpose in the grind itself. Outside of some new lights who just may not know better, I just don't see anybody willingly wanting to participate in a system like that, especially when there's such a high bar to reach as it pertains to the level of activities you're being asked to do. Will most people do playlist activities, do the seasonal activities? Yes. Is everyone going to solo flawless a Master Lost Sector? No. And asking people to regrind those level of activities, or just even grind those level of activities in the first place, is a high enough bar to reach that for folks who want to go out and reach will go ahead and attempt those activities and complete those activities. But the people who won't, or just don't have the skill set yet to do those things, won't do those things, and they'll be able to engage in other aspects of the game that are just as quality as they build up the strength, the skill set, the knowledge to be able to go and achieve the things that get them to a higher rank. But flat out requiring people to do all this grind each season repetitively will have more harm than good in the long term. If Bungie can make these 3 specific changes happen before the end of this season, Season 20, Season of Defiance, I think Guardian Ranks will be in such a better place for the community. Not only will people no longer feel tied down to a pointless grind, but people would actually have something aspirational to shoot for because they know that over the course of an expansion, they can reach these levels and take things at their own pace rather than grinding out the game so fast that they burn out and don't want to come back to the game. Will there be some hardcore players who are like, you have to be 20 clears of Root of Nightmares, and you have to be 1830 light level, and you have to be at least Guardian rank 9? Sure, yeah, those people exist. They are gonna do what they're gonna do regardless. But for the 99% of the rest of us who exist in the normal realm of playing in the game day to day, week to week, if these changes don't happen, we're not going to engage with the system, and the system itself is going to become pointless, even more pointless than it is right now, and might as well just not be in the game. Because right about now, I'd rather see someone with a 600 level season pass rank than go through the whole mess of this Guardian rank system that kind of just doesn't mean anything right now. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the Guardian rank system, how these changes I'm proposing land for you. Do you have changes that you would have in mind for the Guardian rank system? Do you think it's good as is? And what are the things that you look for Bungie to shift in order for this system to be more accommodating to the lifestyle and behaviors of the Destiny 2 community? Let me know what you think. I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon. Peace.